Hey gang, Ross Brand here for StreamLeader Report Live. This is the place where we have conversations that creators need to have, but too often aren't having, focusing on things like monetization and strategy and the pros and cons of different platforms. And today we've got a great topic. We're going to talk all about the systems and structures you need to be successful, both as a creator and in your business, particularly focused on people who want to make creation an important part of their business, whether you're monetizing it directly or it's a way to lead people into your business, into learning about your products and services. And so, again, we're kind of looking at two areas here. One is there's the creative aspect of being a creator, and then there is, do you have a system or a structure for managing that content and repurposing and making sure it gets the reach, and that you, if you need to follow up on it, that you're doing that. And then there's the other part that's probably talked about even less, and that is when you have a business that the content is a big part of, how are you setting that up so that you're really optimizing your business, bringing in clients, customers, or maybe you're bringing in sponsors, however you are going about monetizing. These are some of the things we're going to talk about. We have a terrific panel. Jeff C. is here, Valerie Morris, Joie Gharrity, Jan Koch, Kimberly Flowers, and Coach Jenny are all going to be a part of it. So let's get right to it and bring on our first three that we're going to talk to. She is someone who's such an expert in systems. I think her systems have systems. And she's the founder of Tentero Creative, a terrific social media strategist, author, and podcaster, Valerie Morris. And we also have the man from Manly Pinterest Tips, the best beard in social media and live streaming and podcasting. He's been with Social Media Examiner. Now he's doing his own thing. He also produces Guy Kawasaki's podcast, hosts multiple shows, including Social Media News. I believe I got that right. And other shows too. He's terrific. Jeff C. And of course, back for the second time in a row, our Hollywood insider and the author of Being Your Own Superstar and the founder of the Joie G 113 digital network, Joie Gharrity. So thanks everyone for being here. Valerie, you were the first person I thought of because I remembered your speech at PodFest, at one of the online PodFests a couple years ago. And then Joey told me what a great talk you gave as well. So I think you are probably as organized and as thoughtful in terms of how you structure your content and your business as anyone I know. So with that, now you got a lot to live up to.
I know. Wow. People say to pay attention to what people say about you. And I guess I need to lean more into these systems because it is a huge piece of what I do. And it's more for my own sanity than anything else. But if I can help impart any things I've learned to others, happy to help.
So talk about in terms of content. There's the creative side of content, but then there's making sure that you're not wasting time on social media. You're not spending a lot of thought into, okay, how am I going to repurpose this week versus next week? Give us a little idea of how you systematize or structure the delivery of content for yourself or for your clients.
Well, so I've got two screens up while we're talking here, and I'm literally staring. The other screen has a Google spreadsheet up that has color-coded cells and lines. And I love the Google suite of tools, or just using a simple spreadsheet, mainly because I will freeze. It's very important. You got to freeze that top row or the top two rows, but then you can sort things. So I can sort by hey, I want to have, let's say I want to do a post for every day of the month. I'll have 30 posts, 30 ideas, and I'll have every topic laid out of this is the general type of post I want to do. I want to do a testimonial 4 times in the month or whatever. And I can sort based on alphabetized topics to see if I'm covering all my bases appropriately or if I'm hitting things too hard. If I need to assign them out to somebody else, I can get a feel for, okay, so-and-so is making the post about the podcast and so-and-so is making the post about the blog posts. I want to make sure that everyone's incorporated. You can easily sort, and it's free. I love free tools if I can help it. And I just, the Google Sheets makes it so easy to collaborate that's my go-to.
Jeff, what do you use? I mean, you're so prolific as a creator. You're doing multiple shows. I know how much goes into just keeping track of everything you need to know for one show. How do you keep up with that? Plus Pinterest, which is really can be a very time-consuming thing, and take up a lot of creativity too. How do you do it all?
Well, for the live show that you watched with us earlier today, I have a Grace. Grace is amazing. She is an amazing producer. But we do what Valerie had just mentioned. We use Google Docs, and it's funny because we have that Google Docs open during our show, and we're actually typing notes to each other like, "Oh, they answered that question and did it." So we use that almost like a little mini teleprompter down below, and so that's all laid out. A couple of things. I'll take it from a live perspective and then kind of a creator perspective.
Sure.
Second part of the answer is like for the live thing, I've from the very beginning back, and Ross, you remember this, the Blab days, Google Plus,
Oh, yeah.
all that stuff. My thing is always about the audience. Like, I want to bring up comments, I want to make it all about them. So I always start, no matter what I'm doing, what kind of show is, I have 10 questions that I have. I never go in blind, and I think a lot of live streamers, when they say, I'm going to go live, and they don't really have a plan. So I have a kind of a run of show. I'll throw that out because I want to take the people who are asking questions first, but I always have that as a backup. So I'm never going in blind. So that's for the live streaming perspective. The system that I use that I think that a lot of people may not know about that I really, really like, and I discovered a couple years ago, one of the things as creators, we have ideas all the time. And I used to have sticky notes just all over my office, and they would be lost, and I wouldn't remember where they were. And so Google Docs, I use that, but I've been using this new tool that's called Roam Research, and it's like a database for your brain. So it's got an app, it's got a desktop version as well. And whenever I have an idea, when I'm walking at the store or whatever, I can go in there and tag it, and it's all laid out. Like, I just have an ideas thing, I have a podcast thing, I have a courses thing. And so nothing is ever lost. And that was my biggest thing as creator, is I'd have all these great ideas and then they would go away. And I knew I had one, I just couldn't find it. And this helps me organize everything. So it has been a game changer and a lifesaver for me in the creativity type of work that I do.
Joey, Hollywood has its own structure, how it handles divisions and different types of content and marketing. Have you brought some of that over to your business, or are you kind of doing things a different way?
No, I actually that's a big part of my system is learning how, because on any set you have multiple divisions, multiple people, and they even track props, everything from a pen to all the equipment, right? So I love Trello. So Trello's been like a total game changer for me. For each show, I create its own board, and then all I have to do is just duplicate from that board to the next board. So I make sure that I'm hitting every single, different variable and tangible that needs to happen. And, I'm just like Jeff. I literally go in with a script and a structural script. And then I have, if I'm featuring guests that are coming on board, they fill out a type form and they're sending me their tips and everything. And that goes straight in there. And then I can add my entire team. So then they can go and work their magic.
Well, I learned Typeform from you, and I got to tell you, it's been a lifesaver in terms of doing the annual predictions and the books, having that and having all the questions and everybody's release in there and everything. It saved me a ton of time and chasing people down. I'm going to throw this out. Anybody can take this and go with it. Let's talk about the business side. What type of structures do you have on the business side that have helped you streamline that part, whether it's saving you time or leading to more opportunities or more effectively delivering for your clients or customers? Talk about something that you use on that side of the business.
I mean, I'll just throw it out there. I just recently switched over to using ClickUp, as a project management tool. I wish I had started this way back when it was just me. And as I've grown and had more people helping me out with different aspects of the process, it's essential now. But I wish I had had it back in the day to help keep me organized. I'm kind of old school. I love my to-do list and I love to write it out. I'm a kinesthetic learner, so I need that written process. But I'm finding that I needed the digital piece as well. And it didn't need to be an either or. It could be both.
So I love hearing about this because my problem is the clients I work with, they work with all of those things. So, you've got clients who do ClickUp. We use Trello for a guy's show. I have my own process. So I've tried to get them all on and it's like, and so I think if you're an entrepreneur, you're going to have to deal with that. And luckily most of them are similar and you can usually pigeonhole things, whatever tool you're kind of using, because you kind of got your formula like Valerie has. But that's an issue because, I think maybe the one kind of common denominator would be Slack. I mean, I think a lot of us use Slack for different things to communicate with our team, or, you can have different channels for different clients. That's probably the unifying thing that has helped the business out the most.
Yeah, and again, why another reason I love Trello again is because, and I encourage all my clients to do this, all my Prosperity Club members to do this too, is any new interview, like the one that I'm on right now, for instance, as soon as this is done going live, I grab it and I have an entire marketing board, but it's all organized from like lives to podcasts to articles to blogs, everything that you're featured in. And I'm always telling people, I'm like, it's going to save you so much like time and energy down the road because, your website guy needs it. You just ask them, or your media kit's being, created or updated. Right. And all you have to do is just send your team member that new live. So it keeps you current. So, I was talking about with Valerie at Podfest, and like Valerie's my hero. Like she literally is so organized that she
If only you knew.
really has check boxes, and she like colors in half of the checkbox to remind her that she has to. I got on the plane and I was coming back. First of all, I was laughing. I was like, "That is amazing," and I was just like, "She's my new hero." Because if you want a thriving business, you have to be uber organized. There's just no other way around it. I don't think chaos builds thriving. I don't.
Yeah. I want to say a quick hello to Chris Stone, Beauty Bubble, Eileen Smith, Jim Fuse, Teresa is here. Welcome, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us. Okay, so here's the big one. How do you manage community and or social media engagement as a creator? There's an expectation that we're going to follow up and have conversations around the content that we put out there. But then there's all the other things that we have to do in business as well. How do you manage that so that you're available, but you're not letting time get away from you, let's say?
Well, I use Agora Pulse to help track and keep track of everything for not just my stuff, but my clients. Now, my personal stuff, I'll pop in and I'll burn time, evenings, lunchtime, when I should be working, all of that, that's a black hole for me personally. But for my clients, I definitely use a tracking tool like Agora Pulse so that I can just go in, see what's vital, what needs to be responded to. Obviously, if there's something big, like tomorrow we're covering a huge event, we're going to be on that much more frequently in the day because it's a really focused big thing. Whereas normally it's like, usually we have a daily check-in on things. And if we see some fire come up outside of that time, we'll jump on it. But otherwise, we're just replying at least during the day for client stuff. Obviously, it depends on the nature of the client. I work with a lot of professional services, so a lot of them don't get the urgent comments on things where it's like, if you don't reply within 5 minutes of it going up, you're screwed. A lot of times we can wait a few hours. So, it just depends, I think, on the nature of your clients as well.
Right.
Yeah, I use Agora Pulse as well. I think you have to have some sort of good social listening tool. especially if you're trying to build community, because things, you'll miss Facebook notifications, you'll miss all those things. And unless you have, and if you're trying to build community, you really need to make sure you can go back and answer those comments that were on your live show. Because like I go, and I know Ross, you do this as well, as you go live in multiple different places, you multi-stream, and then like, okay, where was that at? And it would be impossible to do without a social listening tool.
YouTube only today, though. We're YouTube exclusive
there
today.
you go.
But yes, I know exactly what
Right.
you're talking about, and that is the usual workflow. Joey, any thoughts?
Yeah, well, I like to vessel everyone as much as possible into one container. And so for me, that's my Facebook group and just building those relationships there. So I absolutely make it a priority to be inside there as often as possible, because I'm building out my network and building out, and I only attract women entrepreneurs that want to be superstars. So I've been very nichey about that as well. And, and growing that out, because I don't like to be everywhere at once. Right. And in terms of like the autoresponder situation, I use Hootsuite, and then I like Get Response. I like building lists in there and just structurally around the business, doing it on the back end like that. But I'm an emotional girl. I like emotional connection. So and I get it, and I don't recommend people spend hours and hours and hours in social media. I don't need to. I'm very quick, right? But I do believe that we have such an opportunity to make that deeper emotional connection out there. And I like to do it more on that one-on-one basis, and that's what the group's done for me.
Yeah. Do you guys work with teams or have VAs or outsource? How do you lighten your burden?
Well, for me, so I started repurposing with Descript, and that's a game changer for me. Is taking everything, like as soon as I'm done with the show, it goes to Descript, it gets transcript up, and then I take clips out of that and I pass those on to a team. And so that was the biggest thing for me, is I was able to use a video production team that I actually can take in and move stuff after I clip it up to have them do, and then I take it and put it into a Grow Pulse to be put out every day. And then also I have the same thing on the podcasting end, where we use Descript a lot for that as well, but I can pass that on to a team member, because of the way they have teams built inside of Descript, it just makes it really, really easy.
Yeah, I mean, I've got people that help me with different parts of the process, especially for stuff for clients. With my stuff, if a typo gets out, something goofy goes out, I am more forgiving about it. But for client stuff, especially, like, I've always had a team member in the mix. Even if I was the one creating the content, I'd always have somebody proofing it. And it just, having a couple people involved in the process allows you to catch more of those mistakes. So, which inevitably they come out. We're human. It's going to happen. So if you have a couple of checks and balances in place, it works out great. And yeah, over the years, I mean, I've had anywhere from, most of the folks, it's their side hustle. It's not a full-time gig for them at this point, but I've had people that are stay-at-home moms. They do stuff at 2 a.m. when they're up, whatever, or the weekends. That's the only time they can squeeze it in. And then I've had people where, like, they're available same hours I am, office hours. So it can really be a huge variety of people. I personally have always found success more with people that are based here in the US or have a very solid English base. I've personally not jumped into the VA work with people overseas, but that's just my own personal preference, I think.
No, I agree with Valerie. The time difference was just really wonky. It's hard to communicate and keep things rocking and rolling with this huge time difference. Not that I haven't heard great things about these services, but I think there's, like, having a designer that's your go-to, a VA, and then your tech person, whether that's your website guy or whatever. I think having those 3 people in your back pocket that you can rely on, that are like A types, that are going to get it done quickly for you. I just feel like they're necessary as your business grows, as you have a bigger thriving business, right? Especially in having another perspective, I think so great, especially with the designer. right? Because I like things to look a certain way, be a certain way. But sometimes they'll come with a new perspective that will heighten that and just bring that design for whether it's the podcast or the shows to a whole new level that I just didn't see. So I like having team members like that.
Besides the on-camera stuff, Valerie or Jeff or both of you, how do you kind of decide what you should hand off and what you should keep for yourself?
Well, it's interesting because I went to a conference here in Denver that Mike Kim put on, and he actually like had a whole session on this. And he walked you through these 4 questions, and it essentially was like, what are you good at? What do you like doing? What do you love doing? And what are you not good at? And then like the converse, question of that of like, what do you hate doing? What do you dislike doing? What are you not good at? That kind of stuff. There's things like accounting. I mean, I don't know how many times my CPA has to explain something to me, but I still don't understand the lingo.
Right.
There's just certain things where I've just discovered like, hey, it is well worth my time to pay someone to do X, Y, Z. Some of the monotonous stuff in my, organization and whatnot, like I might come across as really organized with some things, but some of that I don't enjoy doing. And so I think you get down to the point of like, hey, these are the things that I really love doing that I'm really good at. And if you can narrow it down to what those things are, then that gives you a clue as to, well, all this other stuff, even if I like doing it, even if I'm good at it, but it's not something that really gets me excited, it's something that I could pass off. And it like, just when you get to the point where, you've got the budget, you've got the capacity to hand something off to somebody, then you have this thing in your mind of like, oh, okay, well, that's something I could let go, whereas these few things, I'm going to hold on to these because it's literally only something I can do or something that only I want to do.
It's funny because I can see it so clearly for other people's businesses, but it's
Right?
so hard for me to use. I mean, I've got this just lens that I use. It's like, what are you competing on? What's your competitive advantage? That you don't give up. What can you accept industry standard on? That you out. It's like it's so clear to me how businesses need to do it, but for myself, I can't do it. Jeff.
Ross, it was the hardest thing for me because I started as like my whole business way back in the dinosaur days as a video editor, and it was so hard to give that off. But I now, to Joey's point about overseas, for me, for video editing, it's great because I give it to them. I use Video Husky is the service that I use, and so I pass it over to them in the evening, and I wake up with a new video in the morning. When that happened for the first time, I was like, oh my, what have I been doing? Because, and I mean, it's not, I would sit there and fiddle fart with it for way too long, I mean, I still like, oh, I wish they would have done that. But I've had to learn to let it go, and because I get stuff out. But yeah, I feel your pain, Ross.
Video Husky.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, fiddle fart. That's a good one.
That's an East Texas term right there for your viewers.
We all know exactly what it means, though.
That's
Yeah.
right.
We've all spent hours doing something we shouldn't be doing and spending way more time on it.
Well, you guys have been amazing. We're going to move on to our second round of the panel. Valerie Morris, Jeff C., Joie Gharrity. Check out their bios in the description and also links on how to connect with them. They are awesome. Thank you all so much.
Thanks, Ross.
Thank you, Ross.
All right, we're going to move on to our second round of the panel, and we're going to bring on the great coach, Jenny, the inner critic coach, and the author of Hilda, and Jan Koch, the man who is in charge of the Virtual Summit Mastery Program. He's also the author of the Virtual Summit Mastery Method and the Virtual Summit Mastery Podcast, I believe, as well. And Joey, we've had you already, so we will go to Kimberly Flowers, who is an outstanding live video producer, works with all sorts of clients, and she can make your show look like it's on network TV. Kimberly, welcome. Live.
Well, thank you. I said
remote producer live. So you guys, what's interesting about this group is you guys really all have a specialty. Not that our past guests don't, but you guys really are using content in a very specific way in your niche. Tell everybody a little bit about where content fits in to your business. We'll start with Kimberly.
Where content fits in. Great question. Thanks for
Yeah,
having
like
me.
your own content and how that fits into the larger picture of what you do.
Yeah, so for me, great question. For me, because what we do is creating shows at a high level and really helping our clients to position themselves as, you know, package what they're doing in the value that a person can see, right? So sometimes it's a lot easier for a person to be able to see value than for you to tell them about how awesome you are, right? And so that's where we kind of come in. I'm really big on making sure that the quality of what we're presenting to the world is something that another person can immediately observe and be able to gravitate to, so that our clients are able to better attract the kinds of people that they want to work with, as opposed to just, you know, chasing them, right? You're either chasing clients or you're attracting them. And so this is a strategy that we use to really position whatever they're doing at whatever level they're at, you know, into something that is just expounded and something that a person can gravitate to. So within that process, our show is kind of used as a demo, essentially. If you love today's broadcast and you want to learn more about how this can, or how your broadcast can look more like this, check us out over on social media and check us out on our website. So we kind of use it in that way. In addition to that, like, our content is related to what our clients are doing around strategy as well. So I think it's always better to be able to show people than to be able to tell them. So we just, you know, act as a demo for our clients to kind of follow. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And Coach Jenny, I think Kimberly just answered what I was assuming your answer was going to be.
No, not at all. Not at all.
But you know, no. But what I'm saying is the key theme is the showing people, but you did it with coaching versus Kimberly with video production.
It's a really good point, right? Like, it's about demonstrating and giving people a quick taste of what it's like to work with you, like what this is all about. Now, Kimberly is obviously poised and polished. I'm not so much, but that's okay, because that's also behind the paywall. It's not poised and polished. And, you know, I'm one of those life coach people, and like 17 people just became a life coach in the time it took me to say this sentence. So my competition is fierce. And so what content for me is, like, the main purpose of it is to kind of stop the scroll and get people a new perspective, my kind of cheeky, slightly snarky perspective on the topics that I talk about. So I want to differentiate myself from the sea of people who are reading from the cookie cutter coaching handbook over there, so that people know, okay, Coach Jenny is an acquired taste, but I think I want to know a little bit more.
Love that.
Well, Jan, as a thought leader in the virtual event space, it's pretty clear why you do a lot of content and a lot of guesting and a lot of speaking, obviously.
Yeah, and it's funny because I don't really have something new to add. Jenny and Kimberly already nailed the most important points. And I think from my perspective with virtual summits, it's the same thing. I want to show people that summits still work and how they work. And it's also similar to what Jenny and Kimberly said. You have to be in front of your audience all the freaking time. And for me, it's just the best way to do that is to run a virtual summit. And then I'm sitting on a ton of videos that I can repurpose, that I can run through the process that puts me in front of my audience, frankly. And it's very similar to what Jenny said. You have to be transparent on how you present yourself on social, that's the same and it's consistent with what you do behind the paywall and in the coaching programs and things like that. And as long as you keep that in mind, I think content marketing is a strong weapon to build your brand and business.
So, Jenny, we know the fun, creative side of you. How do you structure what we don't see, to the extent you're willing to share, of course?
I don't mind sharing at all. You know, I'm going into the 17th year in business very soon, but the first 15 years, it was a one-woman show. And last year, my wife joined my business as full-time CEO, and her love language is systems, right? Like, she believes that systems equal freedom. And so we have been just re-engineering the systems. Because honestly, Ross, up until now, it was me, maybe a Trello board, and my institutional knowledge right here. This is not a good system. So now we have just restructured everything. We put most of it into Notion. That is our tool of choice after trying about every tool imaginable. Oh, Jan, you're 2 thumbs up for Notion. Notion, the second brain, it's the best thing ever. And what we're doing is we have come up with a very sophisticated structure that makes it very easy for me to be creative. And the whole point of it is to make sure that I am spending the majority of my time behind a microphone or behind a pen, writing and creating, not spending time reinventing the wheel, looking at a blank sheet of paper. So we've created this whole system where I have basically a Mad Lib of, okay, this week we're going to talk about impatience and where it fits with tenacity. Go, Jenny, come up with a couple of things. It's amazing. So every week I'm not looking at a blank sheet of paper, but I have this kind of baked in Mad Lib of what I'm creating next.
You mentioned Notion, and I haven't used Notion, but Notion just acquired Cron, which is a calendar app. Thanks to Beauty Bubble for dropping that piece of knowledge into a message. So that's so Notion is growing and adding to what they can do. Jan?
Yeah, Notion is the one platform that I can't live without. And I've followed Marie Poulin for quite a while. She's a genius on Notion. And what she taught me is how to set up a master task list. So I have this massive database in Notion where everything goes into, and then I can filter for content creation, for project related tasks, for summit tasks, and so on. And that just makes it super easy to streamline everything and to put everybody on the same page, because then when you're working with virtual assistants, they get their unique view of the master task list. So they only see the tasks that are assigned to them and that are in the context of their skill set, frankly. And then everybody knows exactly what to do and when to do it.
That's good. That's good. Oh, wow. I got to check that out. Kimberly, tell us a little bit about what goes on behind the scenes of high level live stream production where you're really doing like at broadcast quality.
Yeah. So when it comes to our clients and how we structure the systematic approach, it really is about creating a solid onboarding process for our clients. When they come in to the company, like when they get started, a lot of times they are confused. That most of my clients are not techie people. They are amazing coaches, speakers, professionals, authors, trainers, real estate agents. We've done everything from cook shows to game shows on the show. And so within that process, a lot of them just are entrepreneurs who have amazing ideas about how they're going to impact the social media space, but a lot of them have no idea what that actually looks like for them. So organization is key, and really being able to give them a level of comfort that we are taking you through a systematic structure and process that is going to work for you. So one of the first things that we do before we even have a client, before we actually get into the production side of things, is what's called a broadcast strategy session. And that strategy session is really for us to help to get in alignment with what their thoughts are about their show, what they want it to look like, how they want it to function, and all of these different things, and really add kind of a consultation in there. So a lot of people really know that, if I start video, I know that it's supposed to generate more income. I know that it's supposed to give me more visibility, more reach, but most of them don't know exactly what that looks like for them. So helping them to understand video conversion strategy and being able to understand, who their industry, what are some questions that your industry is already asking about you right now? That helps us to position them powerfully from a functional side, right? And then of course the aesthetic side, we're looking, brand colors and all of these different things kind of come into play. But after that, we have what's called a tech walkthrough session. And that is where a producer will jump on with them and, on a Zoom call or something, just checking to make sure their video looks good, their audio sounds good, that they, if they need any help plugging in something, they got a new camera, they're not sure how to actually plug that in, but they know they want to use it, that producer will be able to kind of walk them through the process. So they don't need to know how to do it. They just need to be able to follow some directions, right? And then we have what's called the demo broadcast. So this is like an abbreviated recording. So instead of their 40-minute episodes that they normally would get, this demo broadcast allows them to kind of get a feel of what it's like to be produced real time, because during the production, they have in-ears in, they're listening to their producer, right? And sometimes if you're just getting started with live stream or a broadcast in this way, it can be a little bit of a surprise. Like we tell people, like, listen, the producer you can hear the producer, but your audience can't. So if your producer is telling you something, don't say what, because you sound like you're talking to a ghost at that point, right? Nobody can hear her. So so just being able to educate our clients in and making sure that they feel comforted in a guided, consistent structure on that side of things is what really helps us to stay organized. In addition to that, we also have what's called a producer's checklist that helps us to be able to better organize their content. So for every show that we do, there are images, there are videos, there are all of these different things associated with their broadcast, names of guests and all of this stuff that needs to show up on the broadcast as well. And so we stay organized by providing them with what's called a producer's checklist, where they're able to just kind of give us some specific information about their show. And then we also, again, because we're so big on making sure that the process is easy for the client, this systematic approach that we use within even the producer's checklist is like, they're not providing us with they're not uploading videos. We're not having to all these heavy files and things like that. They provide us with a link for where to find those things, and our production side will download them, format them, put them in the show where they go. And so I think makes it really easy for them to feel comfortable about the process and realize, this is not something that I have to master 3 months in. It's definitely something that's taken care of by the team. And the only way that we're able to do that is through that systematic structure, knowing what we're going to do every time and executing with excellence that way.
For Jenny and Jan, a big part of your businesses are having membership communities. And how do you handle something we haven't really talked about, customer service, questions that come in, complaints, need for help right away? How do you handle that so you can be responsive and yet aren't doing phone support from the time you wake up till the time you go to sleep?
I'm happy to get started. One, nobody complains. My membership is amazing.
Of course.
But the way that we deal with
complaints that you're not charging enough,
that's
because
what it is. Somebody
that you must get that 10 times a day.
Obviously. No, the keys are to keep things as simple and streamlined and essential as possible. And so making sure that I don't have so many different channels that people have to plug into when they join a thing is really huge. For example, we took away about a year and a half ago, when we shifted into this iteration of my membership, Make It Happen, took away the forum. There's no Facebook group, there's no Mighty Network group or any of those things, which is crazy because coaches all have to have a Facebook group, but they take away your toaster oven. It's like a rule. But I took that down, and that took away the performative part of the customer experience of like, hey, where do I find this thing, and all of that nonsense, and shifted to offering them the opportunity to text me through a texting service. I use community.com and I love it. So making those kinds of changes where they communicate has made a big difference. And so I'm no longer doing so much of that kind of customer service headache conversation thing that would happen in a Facebook group. I kind of took that down. But then it's all about making sure your onboarding is really on point, and your onboarding is something that, yes, when they join, everything's there in the orientation module, but we're also emailing them in case they don't open the orientation module with just a reminder, here are the rules, just a reminder, here's where you go for this. If you want to cancel, here's how easy it is. And making sure that every little step is super easy and that the answers are cut and paste to any question they might have. Those are the kinds of things that make that easier.
Is there still a way for community members to communicate with one another through some forum that's sponsored by Coach Jenny? Or
yes, they can show up to a call and communicate right there in the live sessions and meet each other and exchange phone numbers or follow each other on Instagram. I know I'm being snide about this, but I took away the
I just want to highlight this.
Yeah, I took away the sidelines. The name of this is about making it happen. It's called Make It Happen. You don't make it happen hanging out in a Facebook group, posting a GIF. You know what I mean? Like, that's not how you're making it happen. You make it happen by going out and doing the things. So we create opportunities within the community to make those connections. We actually have a whole call devoted to that once a month called the community call, where they're just building those connections. And then instead of posting in that performative way or me trying to scurry up engagement, they can text their coach directly. It shifted everything dramatically. And all of those, like, oh, I have a suggestion of how this could be better, just kind of evaporated.
Well,
This
Jan,
is
you
going
got
to be interesting.
You got a fantastic.
I'm over here
Facebook
taking
group.
notes, like, for everything all of you are saying. I'm like,
This is going to be an interesting conversation because I have the
we're
exact
learning at the same time, right?
yeah, absolutely. And I have the exact opposite approach to what Jenny just described. I would go mad if my community members would text me. And I have that Facebook group with about 800 people in there.
I get that.
And,
Yeah.
And Ross, you are a part of that. And you see every single day people post their results from the virtual summits. They ask questions about virtual summits. And luckily for me, it works really, really well. And it works to my favor in that I don't have to jump in all the time because all the community members fix their problems themselves. And you are on point, Jenny. You have to make the navigation in the membership area and where all the contents are and stuff like that. That has to be super clear. I 100% agree with you on that. But without the community and the Facebook group that I have, I think Virtual Summit Mastery wouldn't be half as valuable as it is right now, because there are multiple six-figure summit hosts in that group that have 5, 6, 7 years of experience in running virtual events. And when those people can jump onto a question that a newbie has who's just planning the first virtual event, and they feel overwhelmed, they feel scared and anxious, and they don't know what to do. And then you have 5 people who've done multiple 6 figures with their events guide you through the process and take you by the hand. I think that's, for my program, it's extremely valuable.
I think
I'm sorry, Kimberly, go ahead.
No.
I was just going to say, I agree with that because you are teaching a how-to. And I'm not teaching a how-to. And so when people are listening to what is the model of how you put together a membership, I think it's important to think about, well, what is the experience you're creating? I'm coaching. I'm not teaching you how to do something. And I'm coaching individuals in a scaled way. Both of you are teaching how to do something. And to some extent, there's a right way to do it, right? You're teaching a model of like, here's what we have learned over the years of how to replicate this and make it your own. I'm not doing that. So those are part of the decisions when you're designing systems and designing programs that need to be taken into account.
And Kimberly, in your case, you're actually doing for the client in a lot of what you do.
Yeah. So definitely we use kind of a little bit of a hybrid approach in the sense that we definitely, like, all of comments that come through any social media platform come into one hub, and we're able to answer through that one space. So whether it's a text message or an email that we're responding to, or, you know, a social media comment, we're answering from the same place. So it doesn't have us like feeling a little scattered all over, you know, trying to make sure that we're answering and providing solutions for every client or potential client that is getting come in connection with us. So I think that has made it a lot easier, you know, and it allowed us to be able to, and I think when we're talking through systems, we have to consider what the objectives are. Like, so Coach Jenny said, you know, you guys are doing this and this way, and what she's doing is a little bit different. So her objectives are going to be different. So her system and her process is going to be just a little bit different than maybe Jen and mine, right?
Do you mind sharing what the tool is that you use for that? Or
so we use Lead Connector, and actually, you know, I love it because it's almost like ClickFunnels low key, but it's at the same time, it has like all of these automation tools and workflows that you can have. So, and analytics, like all of that in kind of in one place. And I think that was really important to me because I was so sick of creating like a bunch of different things and then having to connect them through Zapier and like, you know, all of these just to make it all work together. But I think, you know, and one of my friends like connected me with this process, and I'm actually like, you know, purchasing it through him, and I love it so much. I can't even tell you. And I was really skeptical because, you know, when you are comfortable with a software or something like that, you know, you just kind of want to stick with what you know. But I definitely think it was a game changer for us.
What's the name of that one more time, Kimberly?
It's Lead Connector.
Lead connector.
And I can connect you with the guy that connected me with it. So,
That
but
sounds
beautiful,
good.
beautiful, like processing. Like when it comes to systems, because I am so systematic with my approach to things, and because I have to be, like, it becomes imperative to have a place where I can, rely on a couple of different things. Like if a person clicks on something, I want to be able to know that they clicked on it and be able to push them into a specific workflow or campaign. And all of that is possible within that same place, like, which is beautiful for us. So
Cool.
How about a system, and this is something that most people don't really talk about too much, so feel free to talk about as much or as little as you'd like to. But how about a system for billing, invoicing, taking payment,
that is
and
such a good
following up when follow-up needs to be? Is there a single tool or a grouping of tools that you use, or do you have your own system for that to ensure that ultimately the business keeps running as it should?
Great point. For me, it's SumUp. That's what I use for invoicing, and essentially what for me is most important is it's easy to pay for the customer. So there is a payment link, and then they can do payment online via credit card or PayPal or bank transfer or something like that. Automatic follow-up, super important, so that when the due date is past, you SumUp bucks the
You get it done.
out of the clients. And just a general best practice on my end in terms of freelance services is taking at least 50% upfront. So when I do done for you virtual summits or coaching or something like that, at least 50% upfront before the work even starts.
I love that. Yeah, for me, I definitely use Stripe and Charge Desk. One of the things I love about Charge Desk is that it does that automated dunning. So like if something, the payment doesn't go through, it will let the client know, hey, please update your card, here. And the Stripe is actually like advanced so much, even when it comes to like invoicing and, providing like an automated approach to like being able to push out something for electronic payments, ACH payments, bank transfers, things like that, that sometimes your clients may need specialty method, payment method options that are more than just the card options. And so we've been able to utilize Stripe and Charge Desk to be able to do some of those things. I also like an app called Invoice, which I think is associated with Stripe, but basically it's just like, it's an easy way to do it like off the cuff, if you need to.
Right.
And so sometimes there are situations where you may be on the go and you have to do things on your phone or, and those for me are invaluable tools.
I have everything in Kajabi when it comes to how I charge, which allows me to have a shopping cart where my clients can choose between Stripe or PayPal, which is an option. You don't have to do that. You can make it only Stripe. I don't believe you can make it only PayPal, but you have that option. I want people to have no friction when it comes to sending me money. I'm a fan, so no problems there. But what I love about Kajabi, it's meant to be an all-in-one tool. It's definitely a most in one in my business. It doesn't cover all of my needs, but most of them. And within Kajabi, I build a bunch of automations. So for folks who pay me monthly for my membership, for example, if their credit card changes or credit card expires or that happens, it gives them like 3 chances before I have to even be bothered with it. Or if they cancel, it knows to take away their access to the membership, and it's all automated. So it's a bit of a pain to set those things up, but it's really nice to have those in place. So I'm doing all of my invoicing through there. I have looked at some of these other ones. I haven't heard of SumUp and Charge Desk, so I'll check those out as well. Because some of those have more sophisticated cart systems with, upsells and downsells and follow up if you have abandoned the shopping cart. I haven't really played with a whole lot of that for my business needs, but it's all about, again, going back to our point of making sure you're mapping out what makes sense for the customer and the promise of the service that you're providing.
Yeah. And I think the CRM that we use as well, has so if you're creating landing pages and things like that have upsells, downsells, like those things are kind of done within the CRM that we use, and then they're connected to Stripe. You know what I mean? Like the payments go through that way. So they have card options, ACH transfer options, just like PayPal, all of those options are like kind of available there within that process. So like, again, to Jenny's point, make it easy for people to pay you. I think that that's a huge thing. You know, I think it's important because a lot of people don't even realize that if they're landing on your page and they want to work with you and they don't really know how, or it seems complicated, you are alienating potential customers that really want to work with you.
And in
Especially
my case,
if you do, sorry, go ahead.
No, it's okay. I was just gonna say, in my case, it's an act of bravery to decide you want to work on your stuff with me, right? Like it's an act of bravery to already say you are ready to face your inner critic. You're ready to deal with the fact that you're procrastinating. It's a bit of an act of bravery to do those things. So why would we add friction, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. What were you saying, Ken?
Yeah,
I was just going to
Jan
say,
knows about upsells, and he's got his famous all access pass for all his virtual summits. Tell us what's on the back end of that.
Yeah, so the all access pass to set the stage is the paid replays of the summit. So usually they are free to attend when they are live, and then if you like them, you can buy the replays, and the upsells are usually related to that. So I have an email marketing summit, and the upsell for that is my Virtual Summit Mastery course, because Virtual Summits do just that. They build email lists. And the back end of that is Thrive Card, which connects to PayPal, Apple Pay, and Stripe in my situation. And you can build very easy funnels with upsells and downsells and stuff inside Thrive Card. And one thing I just wanted to throw in this conversation too is you have to keep in mind that if you're doing business internationally, some payment methods might not be available, or they take 5 days to settle or something like that. So when checking those different options for taking payments, be as flexible and as open as you can.
Well, guys, this has been an awesome panel. I want to thank Kimberly Flowers, Jan Koch, and Coach Jenny. Thank you all for being here. Also, Valerie Morris, Jeff C., and Joie Gharrity earlier. It's really been a blast. Thank you, Coach Jenny. Thank you, Jan Koch. Thank you, Kimberly Flowers. And again, thank you to our earlier panelists, Jeff C., Valerie Morris, and Joie Gharrity. This has been a lot of fun. If you missed any of this, you can catch the replay, or if you are listening on the podcast and you would like to watch the video, you can watch the video on either YouTube or Spotify. And of course, you can listen on any of the podcast apps as well. So thank you, everybody, for being a part of StreamLeader Report Live, our second panel. We're going to continue to do this each month, and we're open to taking topics that you want to hear experts talk about related to content creation, business, and monetization. And we look forward to talking to you again on another edition of StreamLeader Report Live. Take care, everybody.